We will source properties based on a client's criteria. So your name is?
Jay.
Jay. Jay comes to us and says, right, Mike, I'm looking for properties, sub £70,000. I want two-bed flats, 2-bed houses, 3-bed houses. I'm not overly bothered on the area. I just want to know that I can get a good rental income from them. My working capital is X. What can you get for me? So basically, we'll run you through your criteria. We'll say, okay, what percentage below market value are you looking at? If you haven't got much working capital, then the percentage needs to be fairly high. And we'll say, okay, what type of yield do you want? So I get people who say to me 6-7%. I'm like, nah, okay, think again, aim a bit higher. And I'll normally advise clients to look at 9 or 10% as a minimum yield if they're starting off in the business, because what you normally find is they need to get themselves sorted with a good, well-financed property, something they're not going to struggle with as their first one. Because what you want them to have is a good experience with the first property they buy. Because that's great for your confidence level. And if you're a first-time investor and you buy something that actually pays for itself, even if it's only £100 a month profit in your pocket, if you've suddenly spent a small amount of money, you've got a bit of equity, you've got a nice property sat there and it's paying you £100 a month, that's not a bad way to get into property investment. Because what you do then, once you've got 10 of those, that have cost you very little, how much does that give you a month in profit? £1,000 if you buy 10 of them. So, that's what it's all about. It's minimising your level of exposure. I get people who come to me and say, I've got £250,000 worth of working capital. Like, very good for you, well done, excellent. Congratulations on that one. Do you need to spend anywhere near that to get into property investment at the moment? No, you don't. So my advice to clients is always set yourself the lowest budget possible on your working capital to get yourself started. Question I always ask, who thinks you can buy property for nothing? Okay, so how much does your solicitor charge you? Well, nothing, obviously. How much does your surveyor charge you? Nothing. Your broker, the one who does your fees for free, how much do they charge you?
Nothing.
Who's that then? You want to write that down? There are people who come to me and say, Mike, I want to invest in property, but I've got no money at all. All right, okay. Do you have any savings? No. Anything on credit card? No. Right. So, yeah, but you can buy properties for nothing, can't you? No, you can't. No. So I always say to people, if you think that you can do this with no money at all, then you're in for a very...
painful start.
Exactly. It's not too painful. It's not a complete, knee reaction, but yeah. Sorry, go on.
You can get your vendors to pay all.
You can, but then sometimes that'll limit on your actual number of options of properties. If somebody said to you, spend £3,000 on a property that's going to give you 15% yield, would you say, well, I'm not going to bother with that one because I got to put some money into it? So obviously there's always ways to minimise your risk and minimise your amount of exposure, but that also then narrows your options down. But I always say to people, if they think they can do this for no money at all, not the reality, I've had people say we charge an intro fee, which I'll cover off in a minute. If somebody wants to join the Ahuja group and for us to start sourcing properties for them, we charge them a fee to do it. Oh, it's only £350. Somebody said to me, and it's been said a few times, can I add that to my mortgage? So when I buy my first property, can that £350 be added onto my mortgage? No. Strangely enough, no. So I always make the point of saying, if you want to invest in property, the same as anything, it will cost you. It will cost you money. It's how you minimise the amount of money you need to put into it to start with. But it all comes down to criteria. Mortgages at the moment, 75% loan to value. Birmingham Midshires dropped their products beginning of this week. Bristol and West, I believe, have dropped theirs as well. At the moment, as far as I am aware, no one is doing anything more than 75% loan to value. So what do? Stop buying, or...
Buy property 30% below.
Exactly. So it all comes down to being even cheekier. So forget everything I said earlier on, you've got to be really cheeky now. Or do you want somebody else to do it for you?
Go on then.
All right then, you're twisting my arm. The benefit that Ahuja has is obviously the company's well established. We know so many estate agents nowadays, it's ridiculous. We have vendors, estate agents who'll contact us directly and they will say, we've got properties that are 30% below market value, have you got buyers for them? The benefit they have is the fact that they know we'll turn a property around within normally 24 to 48 hours, we'll get an investor onto it. How many of you guys get estate agents ringing you saying, I've got properties that are 30% below market value? Why is that? You should be ashamed of yourselves. The reality is that's what Ahuja does, but it's not just the initial finding the properties for you, it's the hand-holding process. If James has covered off finance and ways of actually doing it with very little or no money down. What we'll look to do is the way we use our brokers and the way we use our solicitors is the deals are structured 75% loan to value against the valuation, not the purchase price. So, for example, properties valued at 100,000, up for sale at 80, we do it 75% loan to value against the 100,000. So basically you get in a £75,000 mortgage against an £80,000 house. Great. But if we can get it advertised at 100 and we buy it for 70, and then you get a 75% loan to value against a £100,000 house, what does that leave you behind? Excellent. So that's basically how we look to do it. So there are still no money and low money down deals out there. It's not bridge and same day remortgage anymore, as Mortgage Express used to do, but it's structured the same way. It's basically same day contract exchange. So that means that the seller and the buyer use the same solicitors. Not the same solicitor, but we instruct the seller's solicitor, which is one of ours, and we also instruct the buyer's solicitor. So it becomes a managed loop. So the broker then deals directly with the two same solicitors on every single deal that we do, because they know how to structure the finance, how to structure the sales memo, so it actually reflects the fact that the property you are buying, the purchase price is not shown, it's the actual agreed valuation that's shown for the mortgage purposes. If you go into an estate agent and say it's up for sale at 100, they then tell the actual broker that it's being sold at 80, you'll get 75% loan to value against 80,000. What we do is say you actually go off the agreed valuation to the broker, and the broker gives the valuation to the actual lender. So then they get 75% loan to value against the valuation.
Excuse me, isn't that supposed to be fraud, though? If
No.
you disclose to the lender the true cost that you paid for property?
No. All the lender's interested in is the valuation, hence the reason they send a valuer out there. All you're asking them to do is lend 75% against the value of the property. Because if they had to repossess that property, have they got a property worth less than they thought it was?
I understand all that.
Yeah.
But,
It meets all...
If you don't disclose the actual cost that you paid for the property to the lender, then that is actual mortgage fraud.
No, no. The way it's all done is totally above board and totally legal. Yeah. The solicitors wouldn't touch it if it wasn't. Simple as that. I'm not CMAP or FSA qualified. I understand how it works, but I never go into much detail on it, purely because that's one of those things that the brokers deal with and the solicitors deal with. But all they're looking for is the sales memorandums, which is basically the actual seller agreeing a purchase price. What you actually pay for it makes no difference. As long as, if you bought it for 50,000, it was worth 30, but you said, a valuation of 70, then obviously that has no value then to the actual lenders. They try to repossess it. All they're looking at is covering their cost if they need to repossess it. So as long as the valuation is accurate. So, as I said, don't try and strong-arm the valuer to say, yeah, it's worth 20 or 30 grand more than it really is. But the way it's actually structured, it's in essence the same way as they used to do same-day remortgage and bridging.
Just to clarify, the majority of lenders will want to know the purchase price and they will go off the purchase price. There is only a few select lenders out there that you can do this.
And you use these select lenders?
Exactly. Because they understand the buy-to-let market. They know full well that landlords and investors are not looking to pay the true market value for a property. But they also understand the fact that if you've got a rental income coming in that surpasses the mortgage, that then becomes an incredibly good investment for them as a lender. If you were a first-time buyer going into a residential market and you tried to do that, you've got no hope in hell because no broker or no lender is going to touch you on it.